Many people who have downloaded or purchased my Anki decks have asked whether it's possible to adjust the order of their flashcards to their liking, or to study by topic, theme, or AWS service. And the short answer is yes. You can do all of this by using Anki filters or tags. And in this video I will teach you how to do all of this by using Anki's desktop app. For this video I will use the AWS AI Practitioner deck that I made as an example. And by the way, this deck is free and you can download it from AnkiWeb's shared decks website, and I will leave the link of the deck in the video description. Okay, so in a previous video that I made, I taught how to import a deck into Anki, and we will continue from where we left off. If you haven't watched that video and you still don't have the deck in your Anki app, I suggest you pause this video and first watch the other video and then come back here. Let's assume you've already imported this deck and that you can see it in your list of decks. You can click on the deck and then click on Browse. This will open the Anki browser, showing all the cards of your selected deck, and you can navigate through all of this. Observe how each flashcard has both a reference, which takes you to the lecture where the flashcard was created from, and it has also at least one tag. I have tagged things like AI, Gen AI, Amazon Bedrock, so like all the different services that are in scope within that flashcard, or the topic, so machine learning, deep learning, yada yada. There's at least always one tag in each of my flashcards, and also at least one reference link to each of my flashcards. We could copy this link and open it in the browser, and that would take us to the lecture that this was taken from. Of course, this comes from a paid course in Udemy, so you would need to pay for it to be available, but that's the idea behind how I have built each one of my flashcards. If you're ever going to create your own Anki flashcards, I strongly suggest that you at least give one reference and one tag to each of the flashcards that you create, because they become really useful in the long term. And you will see so in this video. Now let's learn how to filter by tag or by text within the Anki browser. You would need to come here to the top text field at the top of the browser. And then here you could write, for example, tag Amazon comprehend. And when I click enter, what I can see here are all the flashcards within the deck that are tagged with Amazon comprehend. And I could have done exactly the same thing by just coming over here to the left and clicking on Amazon comprehend. As you can see, the tag Amazon comprehend. And I can also check for Amazon Bedrock, all the flashcards tagged with that, or I don't know, Amazon EC2 or A2I. So like all these services, all the tags that have been created, you can just do either type here tag and then the tag name, or you can just come here to tags and also just click around. Now I can also filter by text that is present in the flashcard. So if, for example, I come over here and then append the word prompt to whatever is on the search bar, suddenly I see all the flashcards within the AWS AI Practitioner deck that have the word prompt in any of these text fields. So for example, we can see here prompt, even though it's in plural, because prompt, it only has like an extra S that still shows up. But here again, prompts, and where else do we see prompts? Here prompt is not within this first field, but it's over here in prompts over here. So like I have filtered all the flashcards that have the word prompt or prompts or whatever show up over here. And this is especially useful when I'm trying to find also all the flashcards that belong to a particular lecture. So we have here the link for a lecture. Let's say that we want to find all the cards that belong to this lecture over here. Now you would think that by just pasting over here, this would show all the cards, but we have a problem, and that is that the browser is using things like the colon or the forward slashes as operators for the search. So when you're pasting like URLs, you need to somehow find a sequence of alphanumeric characters that might be enough to identify that lecture. And in this case, like all the flashcards that belong to this lecture, because they have this sequence of alphanumeric characters, they show up over here. So you can see that for this particular lecture, I have created 4 flashcards. Okay, so we have learned how to filter flashcards by tags and even text and even lectures, but how do we study them in an order that makes sense for us? By default, the flashcards are shown to you in the order that the author inserted them in, and there needs to be a default order, right? In my case, I follow the order of my study notes. So in this case, we have Bedrock, Prompt Engineering. Those two topics are going to come before Amazon Q. And if you come to the deck, that is indeed the case. We have Bedrock, and then Prompt Engineering, and then Amazon Q. So let's say that you want to start studying Amazon Q, and you don't want to first answer all the cards on Amazon Bedrock and Prompt Engineering, right? So how can we get and do that? Well, I have a method of doing this, and the method basically consists on suspending all the cards in your deck. Suspending cards means that they will not show up in your reviews or as new cards to learn. And then you filter the deck by the cards that you want to start studying, and those cards you will unsuspend. And hence, because everything else is suspended and you only have a subset of cards that are unsuspended, Anki will show those flashcards to you and nothing else. So that's the trick that I use to adjusting the order of an existing deck. So let's do exactly that. Before suspending anything, if I click on Study Now, I'm going to see the very first card, and then the following one, which would be Define Artificial Intelligence. If I go back to Browse, this is exactly the first card that is shown, and then Define Artificial Intelligence. So let's do exactly what I said before about suspending all cards. You can come to Edit and then select All, although in my case, I can just use Command A because I'm in Mac, and then I will right click, come to Cards, and then toggle Suspend, okay? And you can see there it's suspended. If I were to write exactly that, is suspended, I would see all the cards over here. And if I come back over here and I try to study anything, Anki doesn't have any new unsuspended card to show me, and so it says like you don't have anything to study. But I go back to the browse, and again, let's say that we want to start studying all the Amazon Q cards. I would go to Amazon Q tag, okay, and these are all the cards related to Amazon Q. I would select Amazon Q, and then again select all the cards, right click cards, and toggle suspend. And if I came here to is suspended, I should not see Amazon Q cards that are suspended. If I go back to the home screen of the deck and then click on this and I start studying this, I will then see the first question that has to do with Amazon Q, right? If I come back to browse and I come to Amazon Q, I see that the first card on Amazon Q is the thing that was shown to me. So this is the way that I suggest that you will do custom order in studying a pre-made deck. You suspend all the cards, and then you select the cards that you want to study, you unsuspend those, you study those. You want to study more cards, select the next cards that you want to unsuspend and to study, do that. And it will require filtering several times per every time you want to add new cards, but it's the best way to study the cards that you want while skipping the ones that you don't want to study at that point. All right, so this method that we have learned of suspending all cards, filtering a subset, unsuspending that subset, and then learning those, and then unsuspending the next cards to follow a custom order is what I recommend if you want to study in a particular order. And this is the best for Anki and for the spaced repetition algorithms that will boost your retention in the long run. And this is what I recommend. Now, let's say that it's the night before the exam and you feel that SageMaker is the weakest topic and you really want to cram it through and check all the flashcards before you go to sleep as a last-minute review. Can you do that with Anki? And the answer is yes. I was about to skip this use case because personally I think that cramming at the last minute is not good. It has a lot of drawbacks. What you know at the end of the day before the exam is what you will know in the exam. You are going to have more stress, maybe you will sleep worse, but you want to ignore my advice and you still want to cram at the last minute. Okay, let's go ahead and I will teach you how to create a filtered deck. But yeah, don't ignore my advice. By the way, it's also the advice of cognitive science. Cramming at the last minute is not that good, but okay, well, that was already a disclaimer. So let's learn how to do filtered decks. There's the Anki manual that will teach you everything you want to know about filtered decks and cramming. But if you come to the deck and here you then click on it, you can go to this custom study, all right? And then you can study by card state or tag. And we're going to say we want to learn all the cards from SageMaker. We have here the number of cards that we want to take from the deck. And we know that we don't have 100 SageMaker cards. There's less than that, but you could adjust the number. So we're going to say then choose tags. And we want to require everything that has Amazon SageMaker. And we're not going to exclude any tags, but as you can see, you can get very granular on what cards you want to have for your custom study deck. Okay, so let's create this filter deck or deck for cramming. We can go to the deck and click on custom study. We need to select study by card state or tag. We know that there are less than 100 SageMaker cards in our deck, but if you had more, you could increase the number. And now you need to select whether you want like your new cards, due cards, all the review cards, or all cards in random order, and don't reschedule. I will go ahead and choose the tags. I will select Amazon SageMaker because I want that to be required within that filtered deck. And I don't want to exclude any tag, but as you can see, I could be very selective and say like, I want all the cards that have to do with SageMaker and recognition and that exclude Connect. Okay, so you could be as granular as that, but we only want to study all the SageMaker cards. We're going to click OK. And this has created a subdeck called Custom Study Session. If we come to decks, there's this Custom Study Session, all 26 SageMaker cards, and we can click on it and we can click and start studying only the things that have to do with SageMaker, and you can do this the night before the exam and just cram over there. If you get them wrong, you will be repeated, of course, but if you get them right, then those are then returned to the main deck. As you can see, they're no longer in this custom study session. And once this is done and all the cards run out, then this should disappear. But you can also just delete it from here, and then all the cards are returned to the original deck. I don't use filtered decks, and as I said, I don't like to cram, but I suggest that you go over the information that you have here in the Anki manual, and you can learn more tricks and more things on how to configure all of these things. The Anki manual might seem intimidating for a beginner, but as for your use case, you can just figure out what to do and how to configure things. Just look for that. And there are even some add-ons that can help you cram, but again, I'm not endorsing any of this, and I do not endorse cramming, but I just had to talk about this as a way to filter by tag, topic, or theme. Now, what if you're on mobile? I just showed you how to do all of this on desktop Anki, and I'm really sorry, but I only know how to do these things on desktop. I create my flashcards and I tweak Anki and I create my filters all on desktop, and I only use Anki Mobile to review my flashcards. I'm pretty sure that you can unsuspend and suspend cards on mobile. It shouldn't be too difficult, but the browser, it's different in iOS and in Android, so I really don't want to go that rabbit hole. I suggest that you do the same as me. Just use the desktop app for doing the heavy lifting and just use the mobile for reviewing. Congratulations, you now have the skills and knowledge to filter Anki decks and cards by tags, topics, and lectures, which means you can study Anki cards in a different order than the default one that was provided in the deck. Although it can feel a bit overwhelming at first, Anki is a super powerful tool, and learning some basic tweaks can grant you a lot of flexibility and personalization. This tutorial should also have convinced you to always tag your Anki cards and also include a reference URL to your sources, because they do help in the long run when you want to accumulate or aggregate all that knowledge and filter by it. Have Anki tags and filters been useful to you in a similar way that I described in this video, maybe in a different way? I would love to know. Please go ahead and comment on my video and tell us all about that. I would love to know myself. If this video was helpful to you in any way, or if anything resonated, please do like the video and subscribe to my channel. That really helps me to understand what kind of content I should be creating to help others in the future. Thank you. If you want to check all the Anki flashcards that I have created for the AWS certifications that I have taken, I really recommend that you go to my website. All the links are over there, but I've also created a playlist of videos that explain all the certifications that I have taken and also links to the flashcards. You can check this playlist over here. And if you just want a refresher on how to import decks into Anki, I have the video that I mentioned before also over here. So click on something and I'll see you next time.